Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. It's great to be back with you. This week, we're going to be talking about the upcoming aspect of Mars conjoined the South Node. This one's a bit of a doozy. This one will take place at 19 degrees of Virgo. So you want to be thinking about where Virgo is in your birth chart, and in particular, if you have a planet, a point, angle very close to 19 degrees. This aspect is going to be building up over the course of the weekend and it will perfect on either the 20th or the 21st, depending on your time zone. So we'll discuss, some strategies around this, what we can expect, and all of the good stuff. So welcome if you're new, and if you've been here before, welcome back. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you are on a podcasting platform listening, I would so appreciate if you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button, liking the video, leave me a comment telling me where Virgo is for you and how these energies that I'll be explaining throughout the video, throughout this podcast, what we can expect from them. So it is a very interesting combination, and I look forward to teasing it out with you. Before I get started, just a quick reminder that next week, starting the 23rd, I will be launching year two of the Contemporary Astrology program. Been enrolling for a while, and we get started next week. This is geared for those people who really want to take their astrology to the next level. They want to get better at timing, at about predictions, but most importantly, giving readings. There are so many people out there who have really solid technical knowledge. They just need guidance and support in how to layer all the techniques, the confidence in giving the readings. So if you've already got some knowledge, whether you've studied with another teacher, maybe you've been self-taught for a while, but you may have some gaps to fill, or you want to take what you already know to the next level, but you don't necessarily want to start way back at the beginning. This will be ideal for you. So, really excited to get that happening next week. If you would like more information and to enroll, there will be a link below where you can find out more about that. So, enough about that. Let's get into Mars conjunct the South Node in Virgo. So, Mars has a 2 year synodic cycle. And so, approximately every 2 years, it's not always every 2 years, Mars will conjoin the South Node. So, when we think about recent cycles, this one obviously is happening at 19 Virgo. The last one happened on October 4 of 2023. That was just a few days after a lunar eclipse in Aries with the North Node, and then just a few days prior to the events of October 7, where the areas of southern Israel were invaded. So so we can sort of see just from the most recent cycle how kind of potent the energy of Mars and the South Node can be. So for future reference, the next conjunction of Mars and the South Node will happen in November of 2026. This one is really interesting because it all happens at 25 degrees of Leo with Jupiter. So Jupiter, Mars, and the South Node will be at 25 degrees of Leo. Obviously, we won't be talking about that one until we get closer to the time. So that's the end of next year. So when we think about Mars, breaking down some of Mars's basic significations. No matter which way you carve that up, okay, pun intended, Mars is a planet of conflict. He is not interested in making friends, smoothing things over. He is about friction and irritation. Not, as I said, not here to make friends. He's a real, what's the term? Feather ruffler. He ruffles people's feathers. He asserts himself. He's impulsive, often kind of just taking action without thinking a whole lot at all. It's a very competitive spirit, Mars. It plays to win. Losing isn't even in the vocabulary. I often think of a song, I know I've mentioned this band before, Hatebreed. I'm quite fond of them. They have a song called Smash Your Enemies. I mean, all of the songs are very Marsy. And, that's what Mars does. It goes into battle. It's not interested in peace. It's not interested in harmony. It's not interested in, striking any type of diplomatic balance. It's going in to win, whether it's a tennis match or it is a sword wielding Viking going from one village to the next whilst defending its own. So we all have Mars somewhere in our birth chart. It may or may not be in Virgo, but one of the ways I like to describe Mars just as a planetary energy in the natal chart is what do you do when your feet first hit the floor in the morning? The element that Mars is will tell you what you're most inclined to do. For example, I have Mars in Taurus, and basically it's coffee on and getting food ready. And don't talk to me till I've been nourished. So, Virgo is also an earth sign. So it will have those qualities of nourishment. It will have the qualities of wanting to perfect things. The nourishment doesn't come from the actual sustenance. It is more about getting the sustenance right. Maybe it's the gluten-free toast instead of just whatever you pull out of the freezer. So Mars in Virgo as a planetary sign combination, I actually find it works really, really well. I have some friends who have Mars in Virgo and it's their chart ruler, or at least their ascendant ruler. And if you want exquisite work done, I mean, next level quality, precision, and refinement, that is your go-to person. If you want to have plastic surgery, I would go for a surgeon who has a strong Virgo signature there because they're really good at accuracy, that finite detail. You think literally the surgeon's knife. You want those cuts to be very precise and accurate. There's also a very intellectual side with Virgo. Virgos are quite a complicated and often a misunderstood sign because it's ruled by Mercury. So it does have this intellectual quality to it as well. So I often find that the people I'm thinking about with Mars in Virgo are very intellectual. They have a really great command of language, whether they're teachers, whether they're authors, whether they're writers, whether they're linguistics. What is the word for the person who deals with linguistics? I can't think about that right now, but you get the gist. There's something very refined and perfected, and they will sharpen that sword for as long as required because the earthiness of Mars in Virgo will slow things down. We're not talking about Mars in Sagittarius or Mars in Aries that just kind of wants action for action's sake sometimes. The earthiness of Virgo will invite you to slow things down rather than just shoving that food in. Maybe you want to really nourish yourself and let it kind of touch the sides a little bit. The problem is when we have Mars in Virgo, sometimes they get so caught in the details, it's almost like digging themselves into a hole and not knowing when to let go of something. And, do they give in? Do they give up? Do they just cut and sever? Do they burn their bridges and just move on? And I find that's something that the energy of Mars in Virgo can struggle with. Um, what would it be? A video without mentioning Metallica, but I think about the documentary Some Kind of Monster. If you've seen that, it's actually a teaching tool. In one of my modules in the contemporary astrology program is a bit of a homework assignment to watch that. But there's this scene in the film where Lars, who's the drummer, he's Danish, so he has a bit of an accent or way of speaking, and he kind of says, how do you know if a song's done or not? And to me, that's the energy of Virgo. How do you know when things are enough or just right? How do you know when it needs a bit more bass or a bit more drums or turn the volume up here? Use whatever analogy works for you. How do you know that there's enough salt in this meal? How do you know that you've worked hard enough on a book? How do you know you can read over something 10,000 times, but you probably still find an error? You know what I mean? That seeking of perfection and that seeking of that exquisite, pristine, elevated energy that Virgo tries to bring forth. How do you know when it's enough? And that can be a very tricky um, part of the Mars in Virgo energy, because of the overdoing of refinement and perfection can sometimes almost dig themselves into a hole as such. So the energy of Virgo can be very health focused. There can be, wanting really good foods. I often see people with strong Virgo placements. They might be naturopaths or body workers or what is known as alternative medicine. I like to think of it as proper medicine, but whatevs. But that they will be very good at those kind of things because it's a form of nourishment. I know Virgos who are fantastic gardeners. And, again, it's nourishing the earth through growing things, through weeding things, through pruning and refining. All of those kind of Virgo qualities can really come through. When we have the North Node in the mix here over the course of the weekend, we're adding that flavor of the South Node, which is very much about purging, purifying, letting go of things. Um, the energy of the South Node in Virgo, they really need to figure out whether you have it natally or collectively, we're going through the transit right now, is over analyzing things and kind of again getting yourself caught in the spiral of over analyzing, finding faults, trying to correct things all of the time. It's a very micromanaging type of energy. And the reason is because they're worried about getting things wrong. They're worried about making a mistake, doing things the wrong way. And so when that happens, uh, the person can sometimes find themselves stuck in situations that are actually unpleasant for them a whole lot longer than they need to. So that could be a relationship, it could be a job, it could be a living situation, friendship group, whatever. It might be helpful, of course, to look at your Virgo house in your birth chart to figure out where that might come from. So the big question is, as we've got the energy of Mars in Virgo with the South Node, as this starts to perfect over the course of the next few days, there's a question that I think we all need to ask ourselves, or a question that might be helpful to meditate on. And that is, what are you not cutting, burning, quitting because you think that things will just get better? If I just try harder, if I just practice more, if I just do this one other thing, if I just, if I just, and kind of putting a lot of that emphasis or onus on the self in that search for the higher goal or the higher principle of making things right. So the Mars South Node combination is going to bring some form of cleansing, some form of removal. The cleansing and the purging type of situation can be literal. Um, I had breakfast this morning because, as I said, as soon as I wake up, I'm thinking about food straight away. Um, and then I realized I got to 2 p.m. and I hadn't eaten anything. I'd had a few coffees, so that was okay, but I hadn't eaten any food. That is unheard of for me. I'm always thinking about what I'm eating next. So I thought, oh, isn't that interesting with the Mars South Node combination starting to become active? I just sort of felt I lost my appetite. I lost that desire, Mars for nourishment, for wholesome, nourishment essentially. So sometimes what can happen is the purging or the decluttering or the refining can happen just sort of um, feeling a bit detached from the body's needs. It can also happen through, that choice. You might choose to do something, Virgo is my fourth house, and I'm looking around realizing I haven't vacuumed my carpet this week or my floors or anything, and it's sort of stressing me out, but I'm trying to not get myself all twisted about it, right? So it'll happen when it happens. So sometimes we can also have a situation imposed on us, whether we want the cleansing, we want the removal or not. So when I think about the frustration of Mars right now, in my opinion, I think Mars is rather frustrated. It had the big retrograde that sort of flavored very late last year and into this. Um, and just when it's ready to kind of get up and go, it is visible in the evening sky right now. So it is, a western or setting star right now. So you can see it at in the west as just after sunset. But in terms of Mars's synodic cycle, that is Mars just increasing in light. So, in essence, after the process of the retrograde, the direct station, right now, Mars is, I guess, likened or akin to a newly minted soldier, ready for action, ready to go, ready to tackle any challenge, ready to do whatever it is it feels compelled to do. It's in Virgo, so it's spending a lot of time trying to figure out the right course of action. What is the right thing to do versus what my pure desire tells me to do? In addition to that, it's now with the South Node. So there's a cleansing that's taking place first. Maybe some kind of test, maybe having to realize that in order to take the action that Mars really wants to take right now, there is this having to take action that is infused with purpose rather than just action for action's sake. The South Node, when you see the glyph, it's like a cup, and the cup is filled with stuff. So when we talk about the loss or the letting go of the South Node, it can appear like an energy buzzkill, and it generally is. The process of letting go of something can be relieving, whether it's an evacuation, a bowel movement, whether it's a relationship you just finally needed to let go of. Maybe it's a debt you finally paid the last little bit off and it's a weight off your shoulders. Then there's this interim, right, where you kind of go, okay, well, what is the next thing I need to do? And so this is sort of where Mars is at now. It has to decide what action it needs to take that's actually infused with meaning and purpose because the cup, the South Node, is full and you can't fit anything more in it, which might mean in the case of Virgo, well, I've done all I could. I could add more salt. I could do more of this or I could do more of that. But ultimately, right now, it's as good as it's going to get potentially. And so now it might be about letting go of the ideal of perfection or refinement or things even getting better. And so there's a real surrender of letting go of just being maybe at peace and letting the mind be at peace with whatever is rather than trying to overcomplicate, overanalyze, or get too caught up mentally in the situation. And so when the cup is full and you let some out, you pour some out, then you make room for more. So the South Node has a really interesting situation where the cleansing that happens can help you refine what action you want to take that's also meaningful and purposeful. And that's what Virgo really wants to be. It wants to be helpful and purposeful, and do something that does lead to perfection over time. So if you've kind of got your knickers in a twist about one thing, and it's preventing you from getting to the next thing, this weekend and over the course of the next, few days, it might be a really good time to sort of realize what am I overdoing and you know, not getting anywhere with it. So one last point um, before we wind up for this week is all of this energy with Mars, the South Node, is ruled by Mercury. And as of recording this yesterday, Mercury station retrograde. So Mercury is retrograde in Leo, 15 degrees at present. Well, technically still stationing, but whatever, details. Um, so this is really, again, coming back to purpose. Mercury is retrograde in the sign of the sun. What is my true heart's desire? Am I doing something because I think I should? Am I doing something because I've spent a long time doing it? So I need to stick with it. You know what they say about don't stay in a mistake just because you spent a long time making it. Not saying that there's a mistake in the situation, although of course there might be, but it might be about the adaptability of Virgo and course correcting. Staying on the path, but can you add some flexibility into the situation so it doesn't have to necessarily be quite so Marsy, whether it's cut and sever or burn? Can we have some kind of flexibility where if I just do this thing or that thing, then it feels more meaningful to me? So this weekend, I really think the slowness, the stillness that might come through the events, the situations that you might find yourself experiencing, it is a bit of a hand on heart weekend in the sense of what do I really want to be doing that has meaning and purpose? Am I spending a long time stressing, worrying, over analyzing something? And then that in of itself is preventing me from moving forward. So it might be about emptying your cup out a little bit, perfecting and refining things that might be a little bit short-term pain. So it might be detoxing from something or giving up something temporarily. So when Mars finally separates from the South Node, you have that cleansing, that renewal of energy. So it's going to be an interesting weekend, and I hope you found some of these insights useful for you. I'd be really keen to hear what resonated the most for you. What house is this for you? As I said, I'm just thinking, when am I going to get an opportunity to vacuum this carpet? Really riveting stuff, I know. I hope it won't be anything more than that. But looking at these little tufts of hair, I'm thinking they've got to go. My fourth house is probably the only area of my life where I am meticulous, as you would expect. But I'd love to hear from you. Do you have Virgo planets that this conjunction is hitting? Maybe it's a house theme that you're picking up on here. I'd love to know. So let me know. Of course, if you would like to join me next week for the year two program of astrology, I'd be thrilled to have you. And of course, hit the subscribe button, whether you're watching here on YouTube or on a podcasting platform. I'd love to have you on board. So until next time, I hope you have a really wonderful week.